We are down to the final days. Only 6 days left on the STI giveaway. Every $3 you spend is one entry to win the car, and if you do not want this beautiful 1,000 horsepower Subaru STI, you can also pick $20,000 in cash. No matter how big your motor is, no matter how big your turbo is, if you don't have the fuel system to match, none of that matters. We have the big turbo, we have the built motor. The last thing that we need to do on the Evo 8 to hit our 800 real horsepower goal is a big fuel system. Currently, the car has factory fuel lines, a single Walbro 450, and a set of FIC 1650 injectors. We already maxed out that fuel system with the last turbo kit at 550 wheel. So today we're going to 2 Walbro 450s from the FIC 1650s all the way up to a set of 2150s, and we're taking off the factory fuel lines and installing some new bigger lines from Radium. It's also one of the easier ways to pop a motor is by trying to meet a power goal, having too small of a fuel system, running lean, and melting down a piston. Let's avoid that. Let's start in the back of the car and work our way up to the front. First things first, let's go ahead and knock out the fuel pump assembly. For the fuel pump assembly, we will be running the very nice Radium hanger, 2 Walbro 450s, and here is their hanger install kit. Obviously, we still need plumbing and wiring, but let's go ahead and get this sorted first, and then we can move on to the wiring and the lines. Radium makes it very simple to assemble their hangers. You can run this with 1 single pump or 2. Of course, we're gonna go 2. All we need to do is pull this bracket off, pull out that plug. You'd leave that plug in if you're gonna run just 1 pump. We will install another wiring assembly inside of here so we can plug into the pump, get our pumps installed, and we'll be done. So this is pretty much ready to go. There are a few things we need off the factory hanger, so let's go ahead and get that out of the car. So here is the factory hanger with the single 450 installed. Off of the factory hanger, we just need the seal, this big O-ring, and we need the fuel level sender or the float. Fuel pump assembly is installed. Let's move on to the wiring. So both pumps are going to be hardwired. One is going to be triggered off of the factory system, and the second pump will be triggered from the Haltech. Now, if you're not running a standalone in your car and you don't have that ability, there's two options. Option one is put the second pump on a Hob switch, or option two, just have the pump run all the time. I would recommend putting it on a Hob switch. In my case with the Haltech, very easy to do. Trigger the relay with the Haltech, which I'll show you guys here in a second. We do not need this factory connector any longer, so let's go ahead and snip this off. We do need all the wires coming out of it to trigger pump one and for the fuel level sender. Pump one and fuel level sender are done. Pump one, positive is white, ground is black. As far as the sender goes, polarity does not matter, so you can put those on whatever stub that you want. Let's deal with pump number two. For pump number two, we're going to be using this wiring kit from Radium. So the middle wire on this relay here, you do not need. We can go ahead and snip that off. Now we are left with four wires. Blue wire is the trigger wire. In my case, that will be from the Haltech. Black is ground, and the two red wires are interchangeable. One of the red wires will run to the battery, the other to pump positive. On the red wire running to the battery, you do need to install this fuse. Wiring it is now complete. I try to keep this as clean as possible. So here is our setup for pump number two. Relay, fuse, grounded there. All the rest of the wiring runs through that loom, and pump to power and ground right there. And then for triggering the relay, it's this little wire right here, runs to the back of the car and plugs into connector B. Pin 19 is what I assigned. So the entire car is now wired. Next, we're going to move on to plumbing. So all of the fuel lines. Here's everything laid out from the Radium fuel line kit. We have all the line, filter, filter mount, filter brackets, some hardware, some 8AN fittings. So the factory lines on Evo 8 would be a 6AN feed and a 4AN return. We're going up to an 8AN feed and a 6AN return. I mentioned earlier the factory hard feed line on the car from the tank that runs underneath the car to the rail. The feed line, which is the OEM 6AN, that is going to be our new return line. And for the new feed line, that is where this comes into play. So here's a little size comparison. Current feed, new feed. Being that we're not using the factory return line for anything, I opted to remove it. You don't really need to, but I like to keep my cars as clean as possible, and having extra lines isn't doing that. Moving on to the feed line, we are going to install the filter in the filter mount first, and then connect the fuel lines. So there's an outlet and an inlet. As you can see there, it shows inlet, and that side says outlet. Outlet goes to the rail, inlet goes to the fuel pump. Radium includes 2 pre-built lines with their fuel line kit. The first line runs from the rail to the filter. So this 45 degree connects to the rail, straight connects to the filter. The longer line, that's like a 120 degree bend, that'll connect to the fuel pump, and this straight connects to the filter. All of the work underneath the car is done. So here's the current lines. I try to use the factory brackets as much as possible. Goes up to the radium filter, and then it travels up and connects to the fuel rail. The very last piece to the puzzle, FIC 2150s. These should be a direct swap as far as wiring goes, because we currently have the 1650s in here. So let's go ahead and pop the rail off, get these injectors out, get the new ones in, and from there we can load up our new base map and fire it up. Got these guys out. Unfortunately, the wiring is a little bit different. Now, thankfully, they did include the connectors. All right, guys, the car is ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and load up the base map. Now my boy Chag Tuned is going to be taking care of the tuning on the Ciba 8, which I am very, very excited for. So he just sent me over a base map. Let's get her loaded up and see how she starts. Car fired up, didn't start the easiest. So my boy Chag is remoting in. All I have to do is sit here at the laptop and start the car when he tells me to start it, shut it off when he tells me to shut it off. So this will be nice and easy. I do, of course, want to tune this thing on the dyno, but if we can do all the drivability and get everything good to go on the street, that would be perfect. And then we can hit the dyno to make the power, to make the number. Tuning, even like a 600 plus wheel car on the street is never fun. A little bit hairy. Dynos are much better for that. I know it's not supposed to sound like that, but it sounds cool. We are all good to go with startup and idle. Now I'm gonna pull it off the lift, go for a nice little cruise. I don't think we're gonna get too much done today as far as tuning goes, but we'll get done what we can. Already done with all the drivability of this car. It's driving like a factory car. Went ahead and attempted our first pump gas pull. We were shooting for 20 pounds. I was like at 3,500 RPM and it hit 30 pounds already. So I have a feeling my gate pressures are not proper, but we'll see what Chag says. I'm not sure what he's at for duty cycle right now. I think it's very, very low. So I do think my gate pressures, so the spring pressure inside the wastegate, the external gates, is probably not correct. It's probably too stiff.
At 5,600 RPM.
Yeah.
And climbing, you know, like, and just climbing super aggressive.
That's how you know you're partying. Or you left a clamp loose, which, judging by how far the nut is on, I don't think it was left loose. I think we were just partying. All right, guys, that is going to be a wrap on the day. I got way more done than I expected. I didn't think we were going to do any tuning at all today. The car starts and runs, drives great. All we need to do is dial in why we're making too much boost. Never thought I would say we're making too much, but we are. Too much boost for pump gas. And then hopefully we can hit the dyno and turn this thing up.